What's up everyone? Today I'm going to start by priming my face with the Smashbox primer water and priming my eyes with the Lorac Behind the Scenes eye primer. You want to definitely make sure you get this good and blend it into your eyes with no little spackled spots on the edges, because if you do, I have a lot of problems with my eyeshadow catching there. And then for today's foundation, I'm going to go ahead and use the True Match Lumi. And you guys have been seeing me use this a lot. I really love it, and it's definitely a good alternative if you don't want to use a high-end foundation all the time. I'm just going to use that with the Real Technique Expert Beige brush. You guys can see it actually looks really like the wrong color for me in here, but it blends out really well, and you can also use bronzer to get this to the right color for you if you need to. You guys know, just blend. And with a brush, this you need more of the foundation, but if you use like a sponge, it definitely comes out a lot more flawless, and I have a lot less issues, and I don't use as much product for sure. And today we're just going to do like a really good everyday easy eyeshadow look. I know I didn't have a good intro in here, so we just went ahead and started the video right away, but it is just like a nice everyday look that you guys could wear. And you just gotta make sure you buff all that foundation in. And sometimes I go over this with a sponge as well, because I do find that that Expert face brush is very streaky when you apply foundation, and obviously you don't want to have streaky foundation. Then I'm going to go in with the NYX HD Concealer, and I'm pretty sure mine is in yellow. I always want to call it banana, but I'm pretty sure it's yellow, but I'll have it all listed in the description box below. I'm just going to use that to conceal and brighten, and I went in and used my Expert face brush, which actually works really good with concealer. I didn't have any problems with it. I just prefer to use a sponge most of the time, but I have learned that doing it with a brush can actually work pretty well too, so either way, it's to each their own. Yeah, get it in my eyeball, that's really good. I'm just going to pat that out really quick one last time, try to get the least amount of creasing as possible. And I'm going to go in with my Maybelline Fit Me foundation stick, and I'm just going to use that to contour and do like a cream contour. I also need to get a darker shade of this because, as you guys can kind of tell, it's still pretty neutral on this, and I kind of need one just a little bit darker to get more of an intense contour. But in this video, this was my first time contouring my nose as well, so I did a lot of that. I did some on the sides, which I don't think was really necessary, but it did work as well. And then I just did a little bit on the end, or on the tips, so it looked like I had more of a button nose instead of like a big blobby nose at the bottom, at the end, a little fat chubby nose. And you just want to blend all that out, and it's much easier to blend on the nose, but you don't want to make it so it's too obvious. You definitely want to blend that out with your concealer a little bit more. A good way to blend that all out and blend it together is if you add more foundation or more concealer. It'll make it look a lot more natural. I did have a little bit of problems with those two separating, and it wasn't blended as well as it should have been. And you guys will notice I am not using my beauty blender in this video, and that is just because this is filmed back before we moved to Georgia. I just have not had time to do the voiceover for it, so I finally am able to put this up for you. And you guys will notice that this is an all drugstore tutorial. Only thing it's not going to be drugstore in this video is the eyeshadows, and that's because I just don't have any drugstore shadows right now. But what I used was the Morphe shadows that I have, and those cost $2 a piece, so that's pretty good. Pretty close to what a drugstore eyeshadow would be. It might even be a little bit less than a drugstore shadow. And here you guys will see me chiseling out my jawline, sorry. And I'm just getting that all nice and contoured so you guys can see it's a little more chiseled and just looks a little better. It's not so double chinny. Then I'm going to go in with my NYX HD finishing powder and translucent, and I'm going to set my concealer. And what I've learned is it's kind of good if you put a little bit extra powder when you do this, and then you can just dust off anything that's excess on your face. But I just set that and set my nose, and any trouble areas I had. I also did this on my neck just so it wasn't tacky. And even though you guys just saw my new brow tutorial, this was with Drugstore products. So this is the NYX Kohl brow pencil. And this actually works pretty good for like a good natural everyday look if you weren't trying to go too crazy. But I'm just using a spoolie to brush out my eyebrows and then going in with the pencil and extending my tail and adding any spots that were not as full as the rest of my eyebrows. I'm going to do the same with my left eyebrow here. You guys can see I do have a lot more bald spots on the left one than I do on the right. The right has always grown in a little more even, where the left has not. So I'm just trying to fill them in and make them look as even as possible. Spoolie through them again just to blend everything out. And then you guys will see I will go through this over and over. You just kind of want to make sure that you get everything all blended out so it's not any harsh lines or any rough spots that don't look natural, where it just looks like you might have made a line there. And then to set everything, I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. Clear Eyebrow Gel. And I did switch which side I was using and used the Lash side, and the gel was the exact same from what I could tell. And actually I preferred the mascara side brush compared to the actual brow brush that they have in there. They both work good, but the mascara one obviously was used for lashes, so it's got a lot more separation and you can kind of get all those little fine hairs in there. Then I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. Baked Blush in Pinktastic, and I'm just going to highlight. You guys know I don't consider this a blush, and I don't understand why they called it a blush. It's definitely a highlighter, but you guys know how I highlight. I have the middle of my forehead, the bridge of my nose, then the high points of my cheeks, my cupid's bow, and my chin, the high part of my chin. And I also do a really wide highlight in this video, and sometimes I do that just to give myself extra glow in those areas. And sometimes when I contour, I will also contour down a little bit too far, so it kind of just helps brighten everything back up. And then I'm going to go in with this Real Techniques brush in the e.l.f. Sunkissed Glow Bronzer. And I know people like Kathleen Lights, this works for them as a highlighter, but for me it's definitely still a bronzer. Even if it's just, you know, more subtle, you definitely still need to blend that all out, and I am too fair to use that as a highlighter, but it definitely works as a really good natural bronzer on me. And then you guys just see how I always do. I bronze down my neck and I try to bronze up my chest a little bit more. My neck and my chest did blend okay, but yeah. And I'm going to go in with the Morphe Jaclyn Hill Favorites palette, and I'm going to go in with this dark brown. And it actually shows up a little more pink on here, but it's definitely very pretty. It's a nice mauvey brown color. I just put that all over the lid. We're just slapping all the colors on. It's not going to be too precise through this part. It's just slapping on the color, and then we'll blend it all out as we go. And yes, of course, always a lot of dancing, and I feel like there's a lot of crazy eyes as we get through the ends of this, so you've been warned, guys. Lots of dancing. Okay, so while I was trying to decide, apparently I was having a lot of fun here. I'm going to go ahead and just try to decide what I wanted, and I'm going to go in with this lighter mauve color, and I'm actually going to use that in my crease just to, you know, blend everything out a little bit more. And yes, it does look intense right now, but once everything is blended, it looks so good and nice and very subtle. So now we're going to blend everything out, make everything look nice, and no stark lines, nothing like that. And we're going to go in with, actually no, I guess we're going to keep blending. We're going to go in with another color here in a minute, and I will have all the individual shadow all the individual shadows. They do sell all of them individually. Obviously hers was just in a palette, so now I'm going to go in and highlight my brow, and I will have all those individual shadows in the description box. Sorry, didn't mean to cut that out, but just trying to highlight my brow, and this did not show up as well on my eyes as I thought, but it did help blend out those colors in the crease. They were a little more intense than I thought they would be, so definitely just came out as much more blended, and we're just going to be done with that. We're going to go in with the Ulta eyeliner, Kohl liner in brown, and I'm just going to line my eye, or my lower lash line really quick. You guys can tell I definitely have very watery eyes when I do this. It's kind of hard for that not to happen. I have very sensitive eyes, so especially when I'm wearing contacts like I am in this video, a mix of the two is not good. So I'm going to take my smudge brush and just smudge that out so it's not as intense. It'll be a little more smoked out and it won't be as stark lines. And you guys can see, here's just how the look's going so far. It's very classic, and you can see my blue eyes look even more intense with these colors. I'm going to curl my lashes really quick with my e.l.f. eyelash curler. These are $1 at Target. I think the new ones are maybe $2 or $3, but they should be about the same quality, and they're very, very good. I'm going to go in with the Jordana Best Lash Extreme. You guys know this is one of my favorites, and you can see it makes such a big difference. This was one of the first or second times I had tried it, so I was super, super excited. And even though I made a little mess up there, you guys can always clean that up with a Q-tip. It's always best if you kind of let it dry for a minute, and then it'll come right off. Now I'm going to line my lips with the Wet n Wild Color Icon lip liner here, and this is one of my favorites. It looks very, very intense.